What's up, everybody? Gajewski here, back again with the Odd Shopper channel. And today we're talking some college football bets ahead of week 4, the Friday 4-game slate. We're going to talk about each and every game from a betting perspective. Before we get started, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. That helps us a ton. So thank you if you've done that. I really appreciate it. And thank you overall for just watching. Really appreciate each and every one of you allowing this to happen. We also have a premier sponsor for you guys, a limited time offer with BetMGM. Right now, new users can bet $10 and you are automatically going to get $200 in the form of free bets. These deals are here for a limited time. They are severe bankroll boosters. You want to be taking advantage of these. They are key to your bottom line at the end of the year, even if you're just playing for fun. Who wouldn't want $200 extra in their account? And I can guarantee you this will not be around forever. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. But check out BetMGM. The link is in the video description below. All right, we've got 4 games on deck. We're going to kick things off with Wisconsin taking on Purdue. Right now, Wisconsin is a 6-point favorite. The total in the game is 53.5. This is bouncing around both with the spread and the total a little bit here. My favorite play in the game and one I've already taken is over 53.5. If you wait on this, I wouldn't be surprised if a 53 pops, but I think there's a lot of reasons the over could have some success. First off, pacing in this game is pretty good. Wisconsin is 37th in seconds per play. Purdue is 42nd. We have 2 fast offenses on both sides. So right away, that should lend itself to an over. And then I have questions with both defenses. Wisconsin's pass defense has been carved up repeatedly, not only against Washington State, who runs an air raid offense, but last week, Georgia Southern only put up 14 points, but you really dive into that game. They averaged 7.4 yards per pass attempt. They had more yards than Wisconsin at halftime. It really took 5 interceptions from Davis Brin for the score to get as lopsided as it was. This Georgia Southern team repeatedly moved the ball on the Wisconsin defense, and I'm not sure it's going to get much better against Purdue. Purdue has a pass rate of 51.5% right now. They have Hudson Card under center, who's been pretty good for this team. You look at his stats. Hudson Card has a 65.5% completion, 7.5 yards per attempt. He's playing well under pressure too, which is a concern here. The offensive line has allowed nearly a 29% pressure rate. But I look at Wisconsin on the other side. They haven't generated a ton of pressure with their D-line. They're 67th in pass rush in the country. And even when they do generate pressure, you've got leaks in the secondary. Again, 100th in total coverage. Purdue has some explosive weapons. Primarily, Deion Burks has been awesome for this team. They should be able to move the ball against Wisconsin. And we even saw Buffalo move the ball against Wisconsin primarily in the first half here. So right away, I think Purdue can score. Then we go to the Wisconsin offense. You have Mordecai under center. They're rotating receivers quite a bit. They're going about 5 deep here, getting players like CJ Williams more involved and Skylar Bell. And right away, Mordecai, 67% completion, 6.9 yards per attempt. His receivers have not done him any favors. He has 6 big-time throws, but only 2 touchdowns. You remember back to week 1 against Buffalo, receivers, bombs right into their hands just being dropped here. And why I think this can improve as well. Offensive line has been awesome. 19% pressure rates above average. Wisconsin's been rotating bodies a little bit due to injuries. You still haven't seen Renfro play. But teams have been blitzing Mordecai a lot. As long as he's kept clean, he's been just fine. It's really when he's under pressure where things get a little wonky for him. Purdue, they're 80th in pass rush. They're 106th in coverage. Mordecai should be able to move the ball through the air. And then if that doesn't work, you always have Braylon Allen and Ches Malusi. You're running deep at running back to overcome this. Favorite play in the game is 53.5. I will be playing the over here. Game number 2, we move to NC State, Virginia. I'll tell you right away, this isn't the game that I have the most interest in. Virginia is kind of in flux right now. You've seen them play 2 quarterbacks. They looked like they were going to start Anthony Colandrea last week. Then suddenly before game time, it's reported that Tony Muskett's healthy. Then they actually trot out Colandrea. Just a complete mess here. My favorite play in this game is actually the over as well at 47.5. NC State's playing fast. They're 34th in pace, and they have a pass rate of 50%. You look at Virginia on the comeback on the other side. This defense is awful. They're 127th in total defense. They allowed 42 to Maryland, 36 to James Madison, and got decimated by Tennessee. This defense is awful, and it's not getting any better. On offense, I actually think Colandrea unlocks some more upside for this Virginia team. His efficiency metrics aren't awful. You look at him, this is a guy that has 8.9 yards per pass attempt, a 61.5% completion. The offensive line's a concern here, but you look at NC State's defense on the other side, they're 78th in coverage. They're allowing plenty of production to opposing signal callers, and that's considering they haven't faced the best competition. They played UConn, and in that game, you saw Joe Fagnano play not well, and then he gets hurt. Sam Hartman diced up this team for Notre Dame. But if that doesn't work, they're also giving up a lot of production on the ground. Victor Rosa dominated this team 99 yards. You had Sam Hartman and Audric Estime play really well. Estime was at 9.5 yards per carry. This NC State defense is leaky. And as long as Virginia does their part, I also think this one can go over 47.5. Like the Wisconsin one more, so if you're only betting one game, that would be the play for me. But 47.5, I think, is interesting towards the over. If this got to 10 for Virginia, I would consider backing Virginia as a home dog as well. But we'll wait on that. We'll wait and see where it goes and stick with the over. Third game is a very interesting one. Boise State takes on San Diego State. These teams both got beat up in non-con a little bit. The spread here is 7. Boise State is the favorite on the road. The total is 45.5. I'm very interested in playing San Diego State at this number, and I think I'm going to pull the trigger. They've been taking money throughout the week, and I see this going to 6.5 at some point. That is not a number I love, but I think 7 is fine, 7 being a key number in the betting markets here. For Boise, the team changed OCs this offseason. They haven't quite figured out the best way to use their signal caller, Taylon Green. His best skill is his mobility, and the offense has sort of neutered that. You look at his designed runs, he only has 8 on the year. And he's been awesome on those designed runs. He actually has 118 rushing yards. He's averaging over 6 yards per attempt on these designed runs. But they just want him to hang in the pocket. Maybe this changes at some point, but their OC's been very vocal about not using him as a runner to this point. We'll see. Right away, I don't love that, and I don't love their OC's ability to scheme up their quarterback, Taylon Green, into advantageous situations. And this is primarily a concern here because the offensive line's been shaky. They're 125th in run blocking in particular. That's been very bad for them. George Halani's been hurt. He hasn't played in the last 2 games. That was supposed to be their starting running back. I personally like Ashton Genty behind him, but you're dealing with a unit that doesn't have as much depth. Ben Dooley, one of their starting guards, missed the last game. And then the defense lost almost all of their secondary this past offseason. It's a big jump here for Boise State, traveling down to San Diego State as a touchdown favorite in this game. Now, I don't like San Diego State that much as a team either. This is more a fade of Boise than buying San Diego State. You look at this team, they've kind of gotten beat up against some really good competition. They beat Ohio, where Curtis Rourke got hurt in the game. They beat Idaho State, an FCS team, just 36-28. But then they had to play UCLA and Oregon State. 2 games they just flat out weren't winning. Now, with that said, this team has gotten healthier. They should get Mekhi Shaw back for this game. And with Felipe Wesley returning, they'll finally be at full health among their pass catchers. They also recently returned Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon, so their offensive line's finally at full health. That should help the offense here. And again, Boise's defense has been very suspect. They lost a ton of production this offseason. They're currently 121st in total defense, 119th against the run. That's particularly troubling considering San Diego State is a rushing-based attack with their 4-headed backfield and Jalen Maiden under center. And they're better in coverage. That's where you don't really have to worry about much with San Diego State. So right away, I'm worried about the defense up front for Boise. And then you look at the defense for San Diego State. They've been pretty good in coverage. Their weakness is up front. Again, Boise doesn't have Halani to exploit that. For better or for worse, Boise's passing above 50% of the time. I think some of that having to do with the Washington game where they got blown out. And then the UCF game, there was quite a bit of noise there as well. But right away, it's a lot of points for me with San Diego State. And this is one I think is playable at 7. I'm going to play this myself right now. I think I've talked myself into it and want to hit it before this gets to 6.5. Last game we'll talk about, Air Force San Jose State. If I were ranking the games betting-wise, number 1 would be Wisconsin. Number 2 would be San Diego State. 3rd would be the Virginia game, and this would be last. It's very difficult to evaluate Air Force having played Robert Morris, Sam Houston, who has the worst offense in FBS, and Utah State, who changed quarterbacks in the game. San Jose State has played almost the exact opposite schedule. They got beat up by USC, Oregon State, and then played a close game against Toledo, one they should have lost, and when they did lose, they were outgained yards per play 5.7 for Toledo, 3.8 for San Jose State. With that said, I don't believe Air Force's defense has been tested yet. They lost most of their back five in the secondary. Camby Goff tore his Achilles. That was his starting safety for Air Force. And they haven't faced a team that can test that yet. We're talking about FCS Robert Morris, Sam Houston, and then Utah State changing QBs in the game. By the way, their backup actually moved the ball. Utah State actually put up 21 points at the end of that game. With that said, we know what Air Force is going to do. Run the ball right down your throat. San Jose State ranks 131st in run defense. They know the triple option's coming. I still don't think they can defend it. Have loved what Air Force has done on offense so far this year. Zach Larrier stepped in flawlessly for Hazik Daniels. Emmanuel Michel had 28 carries last week. Owen Burke had 15. John Lee Eldridge at 7. You go 3 deep at the running back position, not even including some of your slot backs. Extremely efficient when they have passed the ball. I don't think they'll need to do that here. My lean in the game is San Jose State with the points, but 3.5 is not going to be enough for me to personally bet. This one will just be a pass, but maybe we can play something live. I'm very curious to see how this Air Force defense reacts once they face an offense, which is pretty good. And for all of San Jose State's struggles so far this year, they did move the ball pretty well against USC. Oregon State and Toledo were kind of a different matter here, but maybe something live. Otherwise, this will be a pass. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about these bets. If you have feedback for these videos, I would love to hear it. We're considering doing some more college football content with the sheer amount of games and some of the success we've been having on this channel. And you know me, I love talking the greasy game. So if there's something you want, let us know. If you have a question, you can reach out to me on Twitter at Matt_Gajewski. Otherwise, we'll be back for the main slate a little later in the week. Make sure you check that out. And until then, good luck. We'll see you guys next time.